Hello, everyone, and welcome to days 13 and 14 of Conversations with My Mom During a Pandemic. This is sort of the grand finale, at least of this daily series. I will continue to share amazing things that my mother says because she's too funny and too brilliant to not share those things, but that'll be piecemeal every once in a while, not daily anymore. I want to thank my mom for being the best mom a person could have. She's got such a great sense of humor, been such a great sport about this, and I'm just very grateful for have Charlotte Stroley as my mom. She is not nearly the gargoyle that I paint her to be in these videos. It's an exaggerated portrayal of her, not too exaggerated, but no, very exaggerated. And a lot of people have asked about this portrayal of her and where it sort of came about, and that brings us to this finale. Right after I'm done talking here, there's going to be a video immediately following this of a show I did many years ago called Straight Up with a Twist. It was called Renaissance Geek first, and then we changed the name to Straight Up with a Twist. But that's the first appearance of this portrayal of Charlotte. She's sort of the narrator of that show. So I thought it might be fun for you all to see it. Be kind when you watch it because it's years ago, and I look like I'm about 9 years old. But it's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. I thought it was a great way to wrap all of this up. I also want to say a heartfelt thank you to my wife, Monica. She's been sort of the sounding board for some of these ideas with these conversations, and it's just been invaluable in sort of helping me bring it and give it to you all. So thank you dearly, Monica. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon, and please stay safe. And when we all get the opportunity to again, let's just hug our families as hard as we can, huh? Okay. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paul Stroley, the original Renaissance Geek.
This whole thing started with one comment from my wife. And that comment was, and I quote, "Paul, I'm so lucky to have found you. You're like this gay friend I can have sex with." I knew something was wrong. So I decided to find out what. Here's what we know. Now, we know that in prehistoric times only the strongest survived. Take a look at any of the history books we all had growing up, and you'll remember those pictures of cavemen triumphantly bringing back the kill. We saw that. You know what we didn't see? We didn't see the other cavemen. Men just as masculine, just as brave, but shunned. Shunned simply because they knew, instinctively, that a brush made from the hair of the woolly mammoth would create a wonderful stippling effect and add texture and depth to many a decorative cave painting. These men were outcasts simply for trying to explain to the other men that it would be easier to pull their cave women along if their hair was French braided. These men, they're us. In the eyes of the label-obsessed world, we are the men who know the wrong things. Egyptologists have discovered artifacts dating back to 750 BC. Ancient pictures inscribed with hieroglyphics that loosely translate to, "Let us share this wine," as it really complements the sea bass. Take a look at the Bible. That's right, the Bible. A closer examination of biblical text will show you that Jesus was most definitely a Renaissance geek, because the loaves and fishes incident alone is a brilliant example of think on your feet party planning. And it's... Oh man, am I going to have fun with you. Don't point to your friend. It was her. I have a cockatiel in my purse. It's not all ancient history, my friends. We have examples as recently as 1950s. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe dumped Joe DiMaggio. Single most popular sports figure of his day, she just dumped him. And she didn't dump him for another jock. She dumped him for Arthur Miller, an overly sensitive playwright with glasses, a receding hairline, an overbite, and a cardigan. Arthur Miller showed us. He showed us that it was possible for the most desired woman of the 20th century to not only recognize a Renaissance geek, but choose one over a man who personified all that is traditionally male. Arthur Miller kept the dream alive. He did. You know why? Because it's 2003 and we're popping up all over. Every night, Emeril Lagasse waves that wire whisk like a call to arms, huh? Look in his audience, what do you see? You see a bunch of pretentious culinary prima donnas? No. You see cops, truck drivers, firemen, closeted geeks all. You're still not convinced. It's okay, I don't blame you. It's a new idea. Think about this for a second. One of the last great sanctuaries for the overtly masculine, the neighborhood hardware store. It's vanishing. It's vanishing, and it's being replaced by Home Depots with complete garden departments and lighting consultants and self-service design centers. Do you realize what a high water mark this is? For the first time in history, heterosexual men are being encouraged to publicly make color and fabric choices. The trail is being blazed, my friend. And we are thriving. But that being said, most of the world still doesn't know who we are. Well, I hope to change that. And you know something? If, at the end of this evening, if even one man here knows the difference between flan and creme brulee, then my work is not in vain. Looking back on it now, I realize in this quest of mine towards self-awareness, it was my family that held aloft that torch of understanding.
Well, this is the woman I'm gonna like so. This is the woman I'm gonna like so.
All right, let's get this right out of the way. My son is not a gay. No, that would make things far too easy. But I'm not alone. I know there are other mothers out there in a very similar situation to mine, so many, in fact, that I've begun hosting that's an informal support group at my home. We call ourselves MAPHO. It's like Sappho, except with an M. M-A-P-H-O. Mothers who would actually prefer homosexual offspring. We got 4 members. First, there's Shirley. Her son's married, calls himself a bricklayer. Has a laugh. Look, I've seen bricklayers, okay? He ain't one. He does a ceramic tile bathroom, make you cry, okay? Oh, marble inlays, imported tile. They're gorgeous, and he is entirely too good at it. Then there's Agatha. Agatha's son can't send a nice greeting card like anybody else. He's always got to send one of those artsy, hand-painted blank cards. You know the ones. You know, they're wrapped in plastic. They cost about $4.50. They usually have a pressed flower or something. They have their own rack, you know, and blank all the time. You know, he writes a little something in himself. Calligraphy. Then there's Dorothy. Dorothy doesn't have any kids. She just shows up for the gimlets. And then there's me. Look, my son loves women, he always has. You only need to look at the kid to know he's straight. Jesus Christ, he owns 1 belt, 1 pair of shoes, you know. It's 2003, he's combing his hair like Rick Springfield, for Christ's sake. He's not a homosexual. If he was, they'd vote him out. So someone please tell me why he can tie a double Windsor knot with 1 hand and his ratatouille is out of this goddamn world. I mean, where did he pick this shit up, you know? You know what he is? He's a straight man who views the world through gay eyes. Like, I don't know, the homo dyslexual or something. When people ask about my son, I don't know what to say. In my country, we have a saying. We say, quando questo ragazzo dal calcio al pallone non va diritto, eh? Which means, when this boy kicks the soccer ball, it does not go straight. Look, he just knows things a man shouldn't know. Okay, and I didn't tell him. He knows yellowtail is white. He knows white Zinfandel is pink. And ever since he was 14, he calls Roquefort that antique white cheese with flecks of aquamarine. He knows how to fold a fitted sheet. You have no friggin' clue what I'm talking about, do you? Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you don't know what a fitted sheet is. Paul's father was 56 before he stopped calling it the big square shower cap. It's a struggle to have a son like Paul, and it's very confusing. I remember once I caught him watching Baywatch. My heart nearly leaped out of my chest. I'm going, do you like this show, Paul? He goes, yeah, Pam Anderson's got a really hot body. And don't you find the ocean soothing? I tell you, he hit puberty, I steered clear of that sex talk in Thailand. And how am I going to tell him about the birds and the bees when I don't know if he's a bird or a goddamn bee, you know? I mean, he asked me once about the facts of life. I got so flustered. I was like, Natalie's the fat one, Tootie's the Negro. What the hell do you want from me? You know? The shrink says it's not my fault, but what the hell is it? Genetics? I mean, the kid's not supposed to be sensitive, okay? His father is Italian and I'm German, for Christ's sake. The only two nationalities more violent than the Irish. You know what our house was like? You know those commercials they have on now for the Olive Garden? Everyone's sitting around a table, laughing, drinking, having a grand old time? Well, our house was just like that. Except imagine for a minute that no one's laughing. And all the waiters are Nazis. Paul, sit for a minute. Sit. Because your mother wants me to talk to you. Okay. Do you remember on Sunday you asked me what the two dogs were doing in Mrs. Pontello's yard, yeah? Okay. The dog in the front, the brown one, was a girl dog. Okay. I'm sorry. The Chesapeake Bay Retriever was a girl dog. And the one in the back, the red one, okay, Rust one, was a boy dog. And the boy dog wants to get close to the girl dog so they can have baby dogs. So the boy dog has to... I don't know if it is a pedigree, Paul. That is not the point of the story. The point is when two dogs want to have a baby, they do what you saw them doing in Mrs. Pontello's yard, eh? No, not poop. No, okay. The dog in the front was very, very sick, and the dog in the back was pushing her to the hospital. La faccia di chi la voleva. Giving birth is a beautiful thing. Unless, of course, you have a problem with blood, agony, and sleep deprivation. I could sum up Paul's birth in 3 words: pelvic Pearl Harbor. 3.5 pounds, 6 weeks premature, and not a pretty baby, okay? Oh no, imagine the love child of Jamie Farr and a bald chinchilla with tuberculosis. I want you to get a visual on this, okay? I am a New York broad, born and bred, and now I gotta raise this misfit middle child in upper middle class, Ridgefield, Connecticut. Oh yeah, I fit right the fuck in. It was difficult for me to raise Paul because he is not what I expected. I had hoped that both of my sons would be boys. I don't trust psychiatrists, but I do agree with the one doctor who said that maybe Paul had a problem with his, come si dice, self-esteem. Because he is half Italian and he is half German, so every one of his ancestors lost World War II. Strange man, my husband. Old world Italian immigrant, fascinated by guns and country music. Tell me that's not a restraining order waiting to happen, huh? I mean, the kids handle it okay. I mean, aside from Paul, they're pretty well adjusted. Not that they're perfect, not by a long shot. My oldest son, okay, here it is. He does this thing with his hips, okay? And I guess you'd call it a nervous tic, but it borders on sexual assault. And my daughter, geez, shy is not the word, you know. Compared to my daughter Carrie, Emily Dickinson was Bette Midler. I mean, the only way we knew Carrie was still living in the house was that occasionally we'd pick up the faint scent of Love's Baby Soft, you know. Then again, that could have been Paul. I'm a kidder. So, you know, 3 kids, you know, 1 of each. Hang on a second. Bruno, you see what I'm up to? Deaf like a stump. Bruno, I'm out of merits, okay? Listen up. Ultralight 100s in the box, the blue ones, huh? Paul, vieni qua. Don't run with your knitting. Look at you, you're going to be late, huh? Of course we're going to go, Paul. You don't work this hard to give up now. First you were a Cub Scout, and today you are a Weebelo, and maybe one day Boy Scout like your brother, eh? Well, yes, your kerchief looks nice. Well, it is good then that you steamed it. Yes, we are going, Paul. You do this every time. You say you want to do these things. So what do? We go to the store and we buy the uniform. And we go to the meeting and we pay the dues. And as soon as you finish building the spice rack, you lose interest, huh? Don't cry, eh? Vieni qua. Hey, don't cry. We don't have to go this time. No, we'll go to the store. We'll stay for an hour and a half. We'll come back. Your brother will not know. We'll go hunting, you and I. Yeah. We'll go to the store, and we'll hunt for some cigarettes for your mother, eh? And for you, we get to a Snickers bar. Okay. Almond Roca. I think the biggest problem Paul had was that he just didn't share any interests with the other kids his age, you know? And there were no role models for him, you know? I mean, no one on TV or comic books. I mean, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Who else Paul can identify with, you know? It's not like the Green Hornet had a trusty Asian sidekick named Feng Shui. And forget about sports figures. Oh, forget about sports entirely. No, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. He did try Little League. Okay, it wasn't Little League, it was T-ball. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, T-ball's changed quite a bit in 20 years. Now, T-ball's for like little kids, you know, 5, 6 years old, they play T-ball. But when Paul was 12, and he tried out for Little League, T-ball was baseball for the nervous children. They take all the kids who would piss their pants if you actually threw an object in their direction. And for them, they create this game, where they just take a ball, put it on this 3-foot-high golf tee about a foot in front of you. You walk up to it, you hit it with an oversized bat. Add a blindfold, you'd have the piñata event at the Special Olympics. I mean, even T-ball wasn't for him, you know, and the other kids are throwing the ball back and forth, and Paul's throwing a tantrum because he says the stripes on his uniform make him look hippie. He just didn't fit in, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, the kid tried, you know. I mean, he wants to make friends with his little teammates, you know, so he brings Gatorade in a wine bucket. And I tell you, it didn't make any sense at all, because my oldest son, his older brother, John, please, hunting, fishing, camping, baseball, football, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, he's the all-American boy. All right, I'm not 100% positive my brother Paul is a fag. There is a very slim chance he may just be a lesbian. Paul just wasn't right, you know? Because he's 12 years old and he's trying to explain to me that Kate Jackson is the hottest one of Charlie's Angels because she's got the nicest set of cheekbones. I don't know what the hell he was talking about, man. I mean, I watched that show for 2 years before I knew they had heads. It's hard for a mother to be impartial when all of her children equally annoy her. Paul's little obsession started making it harder to raise the other two. I remember once I come home in the middle of the day, I find Paul all alone in the house with 6 of Carrie's little girlfriends, you know? Was praying they were playing doctor, but turned out to be a Judy Blume discussion group. Hang on a second. What, Bruno, these are menthol, for Christ's sake. I hate these things. It's like smoking a fucking Glade Plug In. Jesus, how hard is it to remember, huh? Don't you have the color blue in your homeland? Anyway, oddly enough, kids got along pretty well, you know. Paul and John were closer in age, so they shared more of a bond. I remember the counselors at the high school had a name for it. Well, the camaraderie of shared trauma. Look, you share a room with someone for 10 years, you just notice stuff, all right? 1979. We go to St. Rock's Feast up in Portchester, right? We're waiting to get online to Tilt-A-Whirl. This chick walks by in these tight white shorts, right? Paul turns to me. He says, hey, I wouldn't kick her out of bed for wearing white after Labor Day. I still don't know what the fuck that is. It was obvious about this time that Paul was cruising down the old hormonal highway with a full tank of glands. Of course, his appearance was a bit of a roadblock. More like a spike strip, actually. By the time Paul entered 9th grade, he was 6 foot 2.5 inches tall, 125 pounds. Oh, don't gasp, hon. We're only halfway to the horror show. You know that little mental image you got swimming around? Add this to it. Greasy hair, braces, headgear, the strolly nose, and size 14 shoes, AAA width, okay? I am not exaggerating when I say that my son was as physically unattractive as you can be without changing your species, okay? I mean, kid looked like someone dismembered a G.I. Joe and then put him back together with some extra parts from Mr. Potato Head. And sadly, his appearance was not the only thing that sort of set him apart.
Dr. Andrews, please come to mental health admitting. Dr. Andrews.
I first met Paul in the summer of 1982. I worked with his mother at Danbury Hospital. She was the ward clerk there, and I was mental health. Practicing psychiatry in Connecticut, as I do. I'm no stranger to upper middle class angst, but Paul's case was a lot more textured, you know, kind of like a dysfunctional Rubik's Cube. I knew I was coming tonight, so I brought Paul's file. This is 1982. Well, June, anyway. Let's see. At the time, Paul was 18, fixated on women and sex, obsessive-compulsive, addictive personality, type A, anal retentive, 30 pounds underweight, heavy drinker, moderate to heavy cocaine use, upwards of 6 cups of coffee, 2 packs of cigarettes a day, combined with severe and disabling panic attacks. In the world of psychiatry, we refer to someone like Paul as the Mercedes. I tried to explain to Paul's mother that at least obsessive-compulsive disorder is pretty standard. Pretty standard for someone of Paul's lineage because, well, psychiatric studies of genetic patterns show us that people who are half Italian and half German are very passionate in their need to control the world. But this passion had no outlet, because although Paul relentlessly pursued women, he was unsuccessful in these sexual pursuits, mostly due to his appearance, which he describes here as painfully Muppet-like and reminiscent of Don Knotts, only taller and not quite as beefy. Now, his other interests were varied and artistic in nature: theater, music, art, design, fine food, wine, not unlike a modern-day Renaissance man, in a nutshell. Paul was a devoutly heterosexual man, burdened, some might even say cursed, with the social and aesthetic sensibilities of an arrogant homosexual. Okay? I don't want to get letters, okay? I'm speaking in stereotypes here. I don't mean in any way to imply that only homosexuals have these elitist interests. I'm not saying all homosexuals are alike. What I'm saying is all arrogant homosexuals are exactly alike. The Renaissance geek teenager and young adult encounters a phenomenon not faced by other men. Something I call surviving the sensitive schedule. Now, while it's true, many women are attracted to sensitive men, they are only attracted to them at certain times. You see, to women, a sensitive man in private is enticing. Sensitive man in public is embarrassing. A laughter of recognition down front here. Absolutely right. So we try to combat it by putting on this macho front when we're younger, but masculinity is a lot like money. The more you show it off to women, the less they believe you actually have it. But some would use this manufactured manliness to hide their geekness forever. But others, like myself, were able to be drawn out of their shells with the help of a very supportive family. He was the cokehead, my son. Seriously, you're gonna blame him? You've seen that nose. Would want to waste equipment like that, you know? He thought I was naive. This is funny. He thought I was naive to the whole drug thing that was going on. But please, at the time, I'm working the main receiving desk at the Danbury Hospital emergency room, midnight to 8 shift, okay? We got it all. Junkies, drunks, hookers, homeless, all with one thing in common. Every one of them looked healthier than my son. I mean, the kid was always high-strung, but now, geez, he had the attention span of a ferret being force-fed frappuccinos. we went back to the shrink, and this time the only good news he had for us was that he did offer a discount if you had a whole group of disorders. So we saved some money there, Hang on a second, would you please? Bruno.
They are blue.
Yeah, hon, I know they're blue. You know why? They're fucking parliaments! Anyway. Right before Paul went off for college, I was making his bed. I found a couple of magazines stuffed under the mattress. I dropped to my knees right there. I'm going, sweet Jesus. Let it be a Playboy with pictures of some blonde slut with tits the size of canned hams, Victory was bittersweet, One Playboy, one penthouse, 6 copies of Wine Spectator. And that was when I started to be afraid for him, because with the interests he had and the things he was good at, what kind of job was he going to get? Hi, my name's Paul. I'll be your server this evening. Tonight we have a chicken dish. It's absolutely excellent. It's got a light breading, and the sauce is not so much a beurre blanc. It's actually less butter. It's pan drippings, and then there's a roux that's added, and that's reduced. And that's served with either our whipped golden potatoes or our biscuits. But I got to say, I hate to even call those biscuits because they're so light. It's like, think a firmer version of a baked polenta. Excellent. Excellent choice. Now, did you want the original recipe or the extra crispy? Learning more about Paul as I did. I came to realize he actually had a lot more in common with the standard straight male population than I originally thought. In that, he also had to cope with being thought of as just a friend by the women he was trying to seduce. Now, where a non-geek would simply move on to an easier target, Paul attempted to make himself more attractive to these women by appearing more reckless and playing the role of the disassociated rebel. So, in addition to the aforementioned smoking, drinking, and drugs, he also pursued target shooting, motorcycling, and for one very awkward summer, kung fu, CB radios, and falconry. As he prepared to go off to college, I was intrigued because I thought it would be an interesting case study to see how he would react to a larger, more ethnically diverse group of people who were mocking him. Paul left for college, the house just seemed to be missing something, Mostly incense and decorative soaps. So, it was nice. It didn't smell like a Turkish whorehouse anymore, And the atmosphere was a little more relaxed. Don't get me wrong, no one loved the kid more than me, but he was so goddamn anal. I swear he wiped his ass with origami. I gotta tell you. I'm a kidder. I gotta stop, I do. I'm getting emotional. Sitting up here, I'm talking about all these old things. This flood of memories is coming back to me, Pretty soon I'm going to burst into that song, Out Here on My Own, from the Fame soundtrack I heard every 6 fucking minutes. Anyway, Mr. Geek goes to college.
He's got his backpack on. He's heading off to school. He's got his Stonewall Stedham grin. And he's thinking that he's cool.
Hello, and welcome to Basic Principles of Acting for the Beginning Non-Actor Who Sings But Doesn't Move Especially Well, 1. My name is Ian Finch Hunter with 2 hyphens. And as you can probably tell from my accent, I am originally from Poughkeepsie. In addition to being a professor here at the university, I'm also a founding member of the Hostel Puppy Theater Ensemble, where I received the Hudson Valley Huggy Award for my one-man production of Dream Growth. I respect the craft of acting, even though I feel that the craft has been cheapened in recent years by commercial interests. I mean, I, for one, did not become an actor to make a lot of money, and so far that's working out very well. It was the mid to late 80s that were really the most confusing with Paul. You know, you're a nice group. I've been talking to you for about a half an hour. I'm going to drop my guard, talk turkey with you. Brace yourselves, okay? Okay, here it is. The reason the mid to late 80s were the most confusing, especially in regard to Paul, is because any male who embraced the fashion trend of that time just looked like he should be blowing the drummer on the Duran Duran tour bus, okay? I mean, the next time someone tells you the 70s was a bad time for fashion, you pull out your 80s snapshots, Chuckles. You will never stop dry heaving, I'm telling you. You remember. Don't look around like I'm not talking to you. You remember. You remember suit jackets with the rolled up sleeves, huh? Thin leather ties, feather earrings. Men with leg warmers, for Christ's sake. He's from the back, you didn't know who the hell you were talking to half the time. And the sad thing is, because Paul was constantly trying to fit in, any short-lived fad or fashion trend that came along, he just jumped in with both of his huge feet. Okay, I have been accused of romanticizing my past or exaggerating it for comedic effect. But physical, tangible evidence exists to prove that I was a complete social pariah. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? Okay. Okay. Hey. Hey. Let he who is without synthetics. This dashiki holds a special place in my heart because I wore this my first day of junior high school. Know what I wore my second day? A neck brace. I wasn't satisfied with the parachute pants, so I went with the jumpsuit. Now, when you are 6'2" and 125 pounds, this does not hang well. This is what the baggage handlers wear on Kick My Ass Airlines. This is it! This is a members-only jacket. I have no joke for this. Because I always viewed the members-only jacket as its own joke. I also don't want to offend anyone here because I know every male in this room over the age of 30 owned at least one of these. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to find size 14 rainbow socks with the toes in? And finally, yes, this is what the Marlboro Man would wear if he smoked Virginia Slims. Now, if individually those clothes don't look especially frightening, think about the fact that there were times that I wore all of that at the same time. Socially, I was a circus act, stumbling through this spotlight of public ridicule like Self-Estimo the Needy Clown. And the whole time thinking that I was alone, thinking that I was the only man who knew the wrong things. But I wasn't alone. And I found myself looking for guys like me everywhere. In books, in movies, watching television. I remember watching game shows and thinking, when are they going to ask questions that I can answer?
It's time again for everyone's favorite game show. It's All Geek to Me. Now, please welcome our host, a man who's never said, "Hey, I'm out of saffron-infused olive oil." Our Renaissance geek quizmaster, Kendall Jackson.
Hello! Welcome. Welcome, one and all, to It's All Geek to Me, the game show for men who know the wrong things. Give yourselves a big round of applause for coming out. First thing I need is a couple of contestants, so I'm going to come down here, and there's a gentleman right here on the aisle. What is your name, sir, and where are you from?
John.
John? Do you have a last name, John, or are you in witness protection?
I am now.
You are. John, would you care to be a contestant? I don't want to put you on the spot. If you're uncomfortable, I have no problem with that. Do you?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Contestant number one. Give it up for it. Just stay right behind. Thank you. There you go. Go right up there. Right, yeah, either one. And that, I'd like to add that that's a very attractive shirt, John. Another gentleman here. Could I call on you? Your name, sir?
Marty.
Marty, did you care to be a contestant? Contestant number two. Give it up for him. There we go. Let's take your place there. Okay, gentlemen, you'll note that your podiums have horns mounted to them. They're going to function as your buzzers. I'm going to ask you a question. If you think you know the answer to the question, honk the horn. Give those horns a test honk to see if they work. There we go. There you go. There.
I think one's broken.
Yeah, well, in that shirt, don't mock the horn. So, okay, horns ready, gentlemen. Those function as your buzzers. Let's all play It's All Geek to Me. Gentlemen, first category is, let's see, food and fine dining. Horns ready, gentlemen. Here we go. You're on a first date. The woman orders Thousand Island dressing. Is there a future to this relationship? Oh, wait. Test number one. Your answer.
Yes.
Oh, trick question. What the hell are you doing in a restaurant that serves Thousand Island dressing? Can't go there. All right. Sorry, can't give it to you. Okay, next category is, for these two gentlemen, is sports. Okay. Horns ready, gentlemen. What's the best side dish for a football game tailgate party? Potato salad, coleslaw, or a cold rotini pasta salad with salmon, snow peas, and a light vinaigrette? Test number two.
Potato salad.
Absolutely right, because only a geek knows you can't get decent snow peas during football season. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, next category is sports again. Okay, horns ready, gentlemen. What NFL team's colors could also be described as seafoam and cantaloupe? Test number one.
The Mariners.
Oh, sorry, we're looking for the Dolphins. Can't give it to you, but it is the same color scheme, isn't it? Like I would know. I'm just moving on. Okay, gentlemen, we haven't done. We'll do a home and garden one. Final question, gentlemen. Here we go. Second date: white rose, red rose, or neither? Test number two.
White rose.
Sorry, neither. Any flowers before a third date make you look needy. One flower makes you look cheap. No. Industry standard is a 2-flower credit for each date, thusly presenting her with a dozen on the 6th date. Presentation of the flowers can be bumped to anything earlier than the 6th date if she's willing to have sex before that time. Give it up for these two guys. Huh? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. I think the biggest problem Paul had was that he just had no balance. You know, the way he was, obsessive compulsive, he didn't know when to stop, and he would just scare these chicks off, you know? I mean, it was easy to scare off these preppy Connecticut chicks, let me tell you. Just by being Italian, we're the fucking third world, you know? But the weird thing is, I noticed like I'm learning stuff, you know? Because then I'm on a date. Maybe things aren't going so well for me. So I go, okay, wait a minute. Balance. Take off my baseball hat. I tell the chick I'm into Lionel Richie and Thai food. Forget about it, I tell you, maybe there's something to this whole obsessive-compulsive thing Paul's got. You know what that is? Obsessive-compulsive? It's like when you do something so much, you're not even aware you're doing it. When my son said he wanted to be an actor, I was very proud. Because for a long time, I thought he just wanted to be a homosexual. So, you know, nice to see him trying other things, you know. But it was when he moved to Chicago that I started to be afraid for him, because with the interests he had and the things he was good at, I mean, well, what kind of job was he going to get, huh? Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, your table's just about ready, so while you're here at the bar, would you care for a cocktail? Sure, what can I get you? Belvedere and grapefruit? No. No, we have it. I'm just not going to do it. No, I beg to differ. We actually reserve the right to refuse service. Oh, you want me to? Okay, you want me to do that? Yeah, okay, I will. I'll mix a triple distilled, award-winning import vodka with pre-mixed from concentrate soda gun grapefruit juice right after you suck my dick. No, you got the problem. You got the problem, pal. And you know what it is? I'll tell you what your problem is, pal. If you're going to wear a sweater vest, you don't tuck it in, you ignorant yuppie fuck. I have no idea where he got that mouth. It was about 1989 that Paul met Monica, and they moved in together. She really seemed to understand him. Of course, call it coincidence, but it was about that time Paul started having his panic attacks full tilt. Of course, with Paul, we never really knew if it was a panic attack or Thursday. The shrink suggested he do something a little less stressful than the restaurant work while he was pursuing the whole acting thing, so he took this job as the warm-up comedian for the studio audience for the Jenny Jones show. You can't make shit like this up. You've seen that show. They do a lot of makeovers, you know. Make over my slutty daughter, and make over my sloppy husband, and make over my pregnant, crack-addicted best friend from high school's illegitimate parasitic twin. You've seen the show. And I'm watching this show thinking, oh yeah, this job's gonna punch up his masculine side, okay? Sending my son to a makeover show is like sending Anna Nicole Smith to the all-you-can-eat barbiturate bar. And I thought he was hard to take before. Now he was unbearable. He came home for Christmas. He's like, hey, Ma, you know what would look better with that scarf? I'm going, geez, Paul, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't look so short-waisted if I shoved it up your ass. Of course, that Christmas, everything pissed me off because I just quit smoking, you know. Well, I tried that nicotine gum, you know, when I chew it, and just as it would start to lose its flavor, I'd stick it to my shoulder with one of the patches, you know. I didn't have any cravings, you know, but if I stood up too fast, I'd see this dragon with Wayne Newton's head. Anyway, as far as Paul was concerned, things were going really well for him. You know, everything was going fine. He was working really hard. He was on television. He did a couple of commercials. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he gets a small part in a movie, and we are just beside ourselves. I mean, his father especially, overjoyed. Excuse me, I must sit down. You see, my son, Paul, is in this movie. Yes, my son, Paul, is in the movie. I know it is a very small part, and I know it is in the very beginning, but when I see him in the movie, I will tell you. It is starting. In the movie, yes. That is him, on the right. Oh, madame. You know, hindsight is 20/20. Looking back on it now, probably would have been a good idea to tell Bruno that in this particular film, Paul played a gay hustler in a prison who tries to fuck Roger Daltrey. Hey, live and learn, you know? Whenever my husband was upset, he went straight to his workshop, you know? That weekend, he built a gondola.
Dr. Andrews, where the hell are you? Dr. Andrews.
I came to realize that Paul's problem was not so much an ailment or a disorder, but more a response to an existing social condition. He had become an overly fastidious, obsessive, compulsive, manic... Oh, why go through the whole list? Let's just say I suggested a change of environment and to be around similar people, and he's very happy in Los Angeles. Paul's 38 now. He finally married Monica. I don't want to say that he's afraid of commitment, but they were engaged for 12 years. Why 12 years? Because God hates me, that's why. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the girl, and she's perfect for Paul. You know, cute, glasses. But I will say that is a match made in anal retentive heaven, though. He says tomato, she says Roma, plum, beefsteak, certified organic. So he is still the complete control freak. How much, though? I'll tell you. About 2 months ago, he insisted on catering his own intervention. And speaking of interventions, guess who finally quit smoking? Thank you very much. I'll take some applause for that. I did. I quit. This time it's foolproof, it's for good, because I got my own method. What I do is, I take so many muscle relaxants I can't actually lift the cigarette to my mouth. It works, son, I'm telling you. Paul quit too. Actually, Paul quit a couple of years back, but he had to because he was moving out to Los Angeles, and you can't smoke anywhere out there, you know, because, you know, it would affect the air quality. Like I said, he's still a completely neurotic mess, but out in Los Angeles, people don't seem to notice so much, you know? It's kind of like when you're watching a basketball game and none of the players look tall because they're all together, you know? I'll wait for you on that one. That's Los Angeles. It's a big, sweaty basketball game fueled by martinis and road rage, and no one can dribble for shit. And my son is center court, and he's serving focaccia. You know, I have been lucky enough to find a woman who accepts me for what I am. Like any couple, we have our little disagreements. I mean, I'm not an unreasonable man to live with, but if she's going to put the pillowcases on the bed with the openings facing in, what are we, animals? Huh? We're not. We're not. We're just men. We're just men who know the wrong things, and there's more of us than you'd think. Because an entire subculture has resulted from the botched attempt to romanticize the male. And we are the men who fall into that colossal gray area between Tim Allen and Woody Allen, between Rip Torn and Rip Taylor, between Charles Bronson and Charles Nelson Riley. We are the men who say, don't call my house during Monday Night Football, because that's when I vacuum. We are the men who know the difference between ecru and eggshell. We are the men who have candles burning in our homes even when we are not trying to get laid. I have been sacrificed, men, I have. I have been pinned to the tree with shrimp forks and frilled toothpicks. Proceed cautiously, I warn you. This is the paradox. This is the ultimate irony of it all. The very desire to be masculine, virile, and heterosexually successful can turn you into a biscotti-nibbling, herbal tea-drinking fop who still weeps every year when Rudolph finds homes for all those misfit toys. But like our fastidious forefathers, we will survive, my brothers. It is time to knock down that wall of intolerance, armed only with a rechargeable drill and a melon baller. The label-obsessed world should be happy, my friends, because we have our name. We are not freaks. We are the Renaissance geeks. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Forget about it, huh?